exciting.
It is exciting.
Attraction. What
Attraction.
a good place to be.
I know.
Yeah.
The moment I saw you, I was attracted to you.
Yeah, ditto. Yes, it was a long time before I realised that it wasn't going to work. So, yeah.
Well,
The first time,
yeah. Our love story is a mid-year love story with, if you read it in a romance novel, it could have been in a romance novel.
And then maybe if we ever do a movie.
So we're going to talk about so Body of Nine. If you're joining us for the very first time, right. There are 9 physiologically different kinds of people.
Yes, there are
9 centers in our body. There's 3 in the head, 3 in the chest, and 3 in the torso. So each of our bodies are formed and shaped by which of the natural numbers is active.
And also, what differentiates us among these natural numbers is how we actually respond to things, how we respond to energy, how we respond to the environment. You'll notice that my tone and my pace is different than Susan's, and you'll see our pace change during the day as we actually activate different natural numbers in our body. So we're going to be spending a lot of time talking about how our bodies actually inform us about how our world is and how attraction and our bodies actually work together in ways that you might not have heard about until now.
It turns out we actually give love physically through our movement center, our area that's activated in the body. So each of the natural numbers, when we've held a couple of experiments where we've asked people to just send love to the group. And you can do that right now. Just send love out to the group. And just notice, where does that love come from in your body? For me, it comes from my chest.
For me, it comes out of the top of my head, just like a fountain. Actually, Susan, why don't you show them where all the natural numbers are in the body?
I could do that. We'll start with, I'll go in top to bottom order.
Sure.
That's not numerical. So in the top, we have the odd numbers, 1 and 5 and 7. And they are the more spiritually oriented, unembodied, non-physical natural numbers. Then we have 3 in the chest. So 3 is at the upper sternum, starts at the manubrium and uses the collarbone and the trapezius muscles and includes a bright smile. 6 is at the center of the sternum, and 9 is on the spine between the shoulder blades. And it uses the stacked shoulder blades and the back to balance. Quite different than the others. So then in our body, at the torso, we have 2 at the upper part of the 6-pack, 4 at the lower part of the 6-pack, and then 8 on the spine at the sacrum, through the gluteus maximus and down into the ground. So each natural number uses a different region.
Mm-hmm. And that's going to be really important to know, because as well as giving love from our natural number, we also give hugs from our natural number.
We do.
And as we've found, we've worked with 7,000 people, and one of the things we always used to do back when we could actually hold hands was we would end up the identification process with a hug. Because 2 reasons. Firstly, it's wonderful to have that physical contact with somebody. And secondly, each of us hugs very, very differently, as it turns out.
It was one of the ways I checked to make sure we had identified correctly. So, for example, when I hug, I give a big chest hug. I go with my arms like that. Oh, I lift my chest off into people and give them a big bear hug. Martin would just prefer not to hug.
Yes, but I've learned. It's good.
You have learned.
But then there's natural number 1 hugs, for example.
Yeah, natural number 1s they wrap their throat around each other. Oh, it feels so nice. It's so vulnerable to hug like that. So just pay attention to how people hug you, because it teaches you how they give love with their body.
It's an interesting way to start working out who are the people around you. As it turns out, in any family, people don't share the same natural number. So your parents are not the same as you, and they're not the same as each other. Your siblings are not the same as you or each other. Neither are your children. And so what happens is that as we grow up, we spend a lot of time around a few different natural numbers. The number of families that actually have more than 9 people these days is very small. Most families are 2.4 children. So let's say 3. And that means there's 5 different people in the family, 5 different natural numbers. So as you grow up, you get to be familiar with your family. Most of us do, if we're lucky.
And that familiarity, that we're used to receiving love from the energies that are in our family, or important mentors, or our society. Also, there are models out there of ideal love. There's models of ideal beauty. So one of the interesting things is while that core familiarity comes from our nurture, our nature, it also comes from our nurture. So our attraction comes from that familiarity of natural number.
Combined with what we've been taught by our nurture. What does the advertising say people are going to be the best people to be attracted to? If you look at movies, if you look at pictures and paintings, the standard of beauty has changed and continues to change back, from hundreds of years ago. You look at the paintings of Rubens, for example, the people in the Rubens pictures have a different shape.
They look like me.
Hey, I like it with that. Rather than perhaps Twiggy, who is an awesome person and an awesome person to follow, but she looks very different than the Rubenesque picture that was in vogue many, many years ago. So attraction comes from two things: being comfortable and aware of how you've been given love in the past from different natural numbers, and your nurture.
Yeah, so we've all been nurtured in positive ways, and we've also had traumas that come with that nurturing. So if your mother had a particular way of criticizing you, you might develop an emotional response to that natural number, and so our traumas land in our bodies, and they get associated not consciously but unconsciously, unless you learn about this, with certain energies. So over time, we can either be super attracted to a particular energy or super not attracted to a particular energy.
Right.
So we can bias our experiences with people to they affect on how we build and grow a relationship.
Yes, because again, your parents are not like you, and in most cases, your parents are just trying to do their very best, but they didn't know that you weren't like them. And so, we get trauma from our parents. Everybody does, because there's always stuff that happens when you're growing up. And so sometimes we use attraction to try and resolve some of these issues. And so it's quite important to have some idea of, maybe who your parents were, so that you can understand that if you choose partners that are like your parents, which I think happens a lot, it's kind of a meme that we marry our parents. And we're really sure that that's because you're looking for, firstly, the love that's given to you the way that your parents did, and secondly, perhaps to try and solve and reduce the trauma by being in the same relationship with the same natural number, even though that's a very different person.
Yeah, this is the interesting thing about attraction. You could be attracted to something that's healthy for you, and you could be attracted to something that's not healthy for you. So when we first are becoming attracted to people, we are much more influenced in the beginning, I think, by our nurture. What's in style, right? Who's the cutest boy in school, the cutest girl in school, whatever your thing is. And so we are much more dictated when we're younger. But when we go to choose our life partner, we so often choose the natural number that was the primary nurture number in your relationship as a child. So, AKA marrying your parents' natural number. This is great because that's where you were super attracted to those energies. It just is. If you think back over the course of your life, you maybe had a type. Your type was probably the natural number of one of your parents. And that might have been the healthy relationship. It might not have been a healthy relationship. But as you grow and once you understand this, you can look for, how do I create a healthy relationship with that natural number that I'm attracted to? Right. Especially if you've had trauma in that relationship in the past.
And again, let's face it, everybody has some amount of trauma in their relationship with their parents.
Because your parents didn't know about your natural number, right? And they attributed behaviors and they attributed meanings to your behaviors that really weren't ever there.
Right. And there are certainly people that have relationships with people that don't have the same natural number as their parents. And that's perfectly okay. It's perfectly normal.
Okay, yes.
So all we're saying is that almost by default, we go with people that we're attracted to. Now, there is also the second theory that says people actually go to a natural number that they want to grow from. And maybe,
or they need they need particular help with that.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we don't really know the answer to that. We just, Susan and I are observers. We spend our life observing people and observing relationships, observing families. And we share with what we've learned from these observations with as many people as we can. But we are observers. We don't know more than we've seen, but we've listened to an awful lot of people. And we can share what we learn from these people. It's part of who we are.
Absolutely. And what we've observed is most people do pick one of the natural numbers of one of their parents or brothers and sisters or somebody who's had an important role in your growth and development and a place where you're used to receiving love.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So basically, you have many relationships in your life, maybe not, but in general, you don't always marry the first person you date, but some people do, some people don't. One of the things we're saying is that the attraction that you feel towards people is the things that you're familiar with. And that familiarity is very, very much based on your natural number. That's the nature side of it. Your natural number is your nature. And there will be some nurture in there. And there will be things to heal. There'll be things to grow from. And I think most people, hopefully most people, or many people would agree that being in a relationship with someone that can grow when you grow is a really good place to be, because my natural number's 5. My growth is by learning. I have a sort of a inbuilt that if I'm not learning, I'm dead. And I know that everything's knowable. I may have to die to know the things that are not knowable to humans. But every one of us has this drive. And if we're lucky, we get to follow those drives. And if we're really lucky, we get to follow those drives with our partners. And part of the attraction, when you know that people have a different natural number than you, is to know that they can grow and help you grow, because they're not the same as you. If Susan and I were both the same natural number, we probably wouldn't argue much, but life would be pretty flat. We wouldn't get very far. And we've never, ever found a family that has children that has the same natural number. We're not saying it's completely impossible.
Natural number in the family,
In the family,
or certainly in the partnership.
Absolutely.
Yes.
We're not saying it's impossible. It's just so far we haven't seen it. And again, we've worked with over 7,000 people and hundreds of couples, and continue to do so on a daily basis.
And for those of you out there who are still single and not necessarily in a relationship right now, the good news, for me, it was really freeing for my self-esteem to realize that sometimes people aren't going to be attracted to me even though I'm attracted to them. And the simplest explanation is I'm not the natural number of anybody that they know that was important in the way they received love. So they don't have that attraction for me. It has nothing to do with me and who I am or how I show up. It's just they don't know natural number 6.
Right.
So it helped me a lot, because oftentimes I would have these like huge crushes on somebody because I would be so attracted, and it would just be crushing to my self-esteem to think, well, why don't they love me? What's wrong with me? Well, the good news is there was nothing wrong with me. So know that about yourselves, those of you who are single out there. Nothing wrong with you. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And it will never work.
Right.
That attraction will never be there. Yeah.
You've probably heard that over 70% of communication is body-based. Our words are actually a very small part of communication. And as it turns out, our body-to-body communication, our bodies already know that there are 9 different kinds of people. Our bodies already know the natural number that you have and the people around you. Your conscious mind doesn't know. But our bodies are always communicating. And so if you think someone is the bee's knees, you think they're amazing, you'd really like to go out with them, and you go to talk to them, and they're not the same, and you, rather, don't have the same energy that they're familiar with, they won't be able to hear you. It's not a question of whether you're attractive or not. They literally can't hear you because they haven't practiced listening to those frequencies. The way that you communicate and the way that they're hearing is very, very different. Now, on the other hand, if you happen to have the same natural number of one of their parents, they'll know how to hear you very, very well, and may find you really, really attractive. Unless, of course, there's a little bit of trauma in there. They really didn't like one of their parents, and you happen to have that number. So one of the really bizarre things about this is, and one of the lessons that we learned very, very early on, is that as other people, it's not about you.
Yeah. Ironically, it's about them.
Right. Who knew?
Who knew? And Martin and I were lucky enough to be at the right stage in our life.
Absolutely.
Because Martin was a total nerd when he was young.
Mm-hmm.
And nurture-wise, I would not have paid attention to him when I was 16 and he was 17.
No.
Nope, we would have just not been able to create the relationship we have today.
No.
So with the maturity of what we needed in our relationship, we've now been able to form a very strong bond that wasn't probably available to us had we met when we were very young.
Right. Because it turns out natural number 6 is I'm a moth to the flame because, as you can tell, I'm all in my head. Susan's really bright and shiny and very full of energy. And those are the things that I really respect and really like. So just the ability that she has to light me up was really important from the day we first met. And we were really, really lucky. If you look at my presentation of a couple of weeks ago, Don't Disbelieve, how we got back together after being apart for 14 years is a whole different story in itself. And there was so much not disbelieving, so much intuition, so much happenstance, synchronicity that got us back together, that we're very, very grateful to be able to be here talking to you about attraction.
Yes. Because it was always there for us.
Always, yes.
But he's actually not the natural number of either of my parents.
Right.
We do think that I'm the natural number of one of his parents.
Right, but there's your sister.
But yes, I had a sister who has had natural number 5. And I actually am married 3 times. Martin is my third time. Third time is the
Mine
charm.
too. Yeah.
I married my mother first, my younger sister second. No, my younger sister second, my mother second. But my sisters and my mother. So this has turned out to be a really good one.
Absolutely.
But we often joke that if we didn't know,
Oh, yes.
we would
Right.
probably not be able to stay together.
Now, the moth attracted to the flame often gets burned. And if I didn't know who she was, it would be really hard to be together. But the nice thing is that we grow together. We're still attracted to each other.
Yep.
And a lot of that is because, not just because of the physicality, but also because the energy that we both have. There is, for me at least, and I think for Susan, an attraction to the energy that somebody has, not just the words, not just their body.
Yes, absolutely. And that leads us to the subjects we're going to talk about later in the month,
Right.
which is how do you keep your love alive? And if it's dying, how do you let it go?
Right.
So we're going to talk a lot more at coming What If Wednesdays about this subject of relationship and attraction and how we build it.
Right. We often get asked, are there sort of common pairings? If I'm a natural number X, then is there a certain natural number Y that's going to be most beneficial for me? And the answer is, well, not really, but yes. Yes and no. Every number works well together.
Yes.
And every number has challenges. And it's part of what we do in our sort of other lives is help people get over those challenges. We'll be talking a lot more about that in the future. Just know that natural number 1, 2, 3, 4 uses their eyes to make relationship. Natural number 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, much more about shared experiences.
And often, ironically, people who are 1, 2, 3, 4s end up in relationship with 5 through 9s.
Right.
And one of the most common challenges in the relationship is, I really would like more eye contact from you. Martin and I sit in a room for hours on end and don't make any eye contact at all. Yeah. But our relationship is built on the energy of the two of us and our shared experiences. But for people that are 1, 2, 3s, and 4s, they really, really want that eye contact from you, and they need that. And that's one of the things that builds relationship. So what creates and builds relationship from attraction is learning how to support your partner, what they need, give them what they need. And that's another important thing that we'll also be talking about.
That's true. Yep.
Yes. And I want to go back to the point you made, Martin, about is there a particular natural number that's good for you? Obviously, the attraction piece is going to lead you in a direction that may or may not be healthy for you. The most important thing is that sort of consciousness around the relationship. Is it a healthy relationship? Also, one of the things when I remanifested, so Martin and I met in our early 30s. We worked together, and we were great friends and played bridge together, had a really good time. But I was just in a new relationship, and you were going through some challenges. So we lost touch for 13 years. When we reconnected, it was just fast and obvious to us that it was, the deep bond that we always knew was there was at that point time and ready to be explored. Mm-hmm. But I had actually, about 6 months before Martin showed back up in my life, I sat down with a natural number 3 friend who 3 is about manifestation, about stating our intentions into the universal field so the universe can line it all up.
Plus you have a 6 and 3 and 6 together.
Oh my goodness, that just manifested it really fast. So I got exactly what I asked for at exactly the right time, that timing. But I had been spending a lot of time with a lot of my girlfriends who all had natural number 5 partners. And I had observed how happy they were in their relationships with their natural number 5 partners because their partners paid a lot of attention and they really worked hard to make sure that their partner was happy. And they had a certain level of intellectual exploration that was available. And that's what I wanted in my life at that time. I wanted some,
And again, I'd point out that not everybody is going to want a natural number 5. I'm
No.
very lucky that Susan did and I was available. Everything worked out.
Well,
But
yes.
everybody has somebody or more than one person for them. And, you can make anything work. It really, really helps to know why you're attracted to somebody. And it's more than just their good looks. It's also very much about what's their natural number and how do you guys communicate subconsciously, body to body, as well as verbally. And as we get older, our bodies change, but our communications don't change. Our energy doesn't change. If you fall in love with someone's energetic signature, that's just going to get stronger. And that's amazing.
I know it is. And it's also how you can fool yourself. So be careful. I definitely kissed my share of frogs in the course of my life. But trust your deepest knowing.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be the other thing I would say in telling our love story is about 6 or 7 months before you showed up, I got this powerful hit that my partner for life was coming. I knew you were coming. And so for me, it was just a question of saying, well, where is it? And I fell into it and I didn't disbelieve and bam, you appeared.
Right.
That was so cool. So trust that the universe will make things clear for you, but you got to pay attention.
How did I appear? I was in the UK at the time. My parents had just celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary. And I got this sudden urge, the voice that 5 has every now and again saying, you need to get in touch with this person. So I sent her a text message. I was in the UK, she was in the US, not expecting to hear back. And
This is not me that he texted, by the way.
Another person. And she said, oops, I've got this really serious surgery coming up. And after a few months of various synchronicities coming on the way, she was recovering. She's doing really well.
And I was mutually her friend.
Right. And I said, let's go have dinner to celebrate. She said, it's okay if I bring Susan. And we've been together ever since.
Ever since,
Yep.
pretty much.
Yep.
Yeah.
So a lot of people have helped us. Well, one person in particular has helped us get together. But the
2
energy.
3s, as it turns out.
Yeah, both threes.
Yes.
But don't disbelieve and listen to the signs.
Yes.
Yeah.
And trust that attraction, but look to say, is that a healthy attraction?
Right.
Am I trying to heal something in that relationship?
Yes.
Because you probably have to do the healing outside of the relationship so you could build on the attraction that's there.
Absolutely.
It's like, I don't expect you to heal my
Right.
5 issues.
Not at all.
And you don't expect me to heal your 6 issues.
Not at all. So another way of describing that is that if you have things to heal with a particular natural number, healing them outside means that then you can choose, is this person of that natural number really the right person, or were you attracted them because of the drama and the healing that's required rather than the healthy connection? And so really trust that little voice, because it's like, if I really want to be with this person because I really hated X and I want to get back to being not hating X, then you need to resolve that with X, not with the person that's standing in front of you.
That's right.
Or you're just yourself.
Right. Inside with your
Right.
with you.
Right.
Yeah. Self-love and attraction to self is also important.
Yes. One of the things we teach people, certainly in some of the natural numbers, is that if you go to the mirror and you look at the person in the mirror and you ask that person, how can I help you? Or would you marry me? You'll be really interested to see the result, because if that person in the mirror says, yes, you're amazing, we're doing everything together and I love you and I will marry you instantly, you are one of the lucky few, but that's where we should be aiming.
Right.
Loving ourselves, it is so much easier. And yes, it's a meme. It's commonly said, loving yourself before you can love somebody else. And it is pretty true.
It is. And I will say for me that it was through this work that I learned to love myself.
And me too.
Because when I found out the things about myself that I did love came from this fundamental part of who I am,
Right.
my natural number 6-ness. It gave me permission to be those things.
Right.
And to hold on to them in our relationship.
Absolutely.
As part of the attraction. It's like,
Right.
okay. And that is, again, about our topic for
Absolutely.
next week is how do you hold on to that attraction
Yeah.
and grow it?
Yeah, imagine, if you will, that you've grown up and your parents think you're awesome, but they've never really honored that deep fundamental person who you are. Nobody has, because nobody really knows you. But we have some ideas. So if you want to get to know who you really are at a deep level,
Find out your natural number.
find out your natural number.
Get your partner identified.
Absolutely, yes.
Yes. And we have a promotion going this month.
Absolutely, yep.
If you sign up with your partner to get identified, you get a free book
Yep.
of our Body of 9, Decode Your Physiology, and Discover Your True Self.
Yep.
It's a great resource for after you've been identified, because it describes in detail the natural number, the physiology, their physical exercises, what you need to be supported, and how you can support your partner.
Absolutely. Because one of the things that is wonderful about this work is that you get to love yourself, you get to honor yourself, and you get to give yourself permission just to be you, because you have what we sometimes call a superpower, or your personal magic. And that is unique to your natural number. And the people around you don't have it, but it's beautiful to share two natural numbers. And as the family gets bigger, it gets more and more beautiful.
It does, and more challenging.
Yes, indeed.
Families next month.
Yep.
This month it's relationship.
Mhm.
Next month we'll talk about family and what that means.
Right.
So every month we have a webinar, and they're free.
Mhm.
The 20th and the 23rd are webinars for February, and we're going to talk about relationship.
Absolutely.
We already had a bunch of couples sign up, which is
Which is
pretty
good.
exciting.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we will be addressing, all of these issues in that webinar. We also have our What If Wednesdays every Wednesday
Yep.
at noon Mountain Time.
Yep.
And we are soon opening our subscription channel with video learning, a place where you can find all of our information all in one place.
Right.
And of course, we have our social channels. How do you stay in love?
Absolutely.
And how do you recover?
Yes.
Another really important point.
Uh-huh.
Oh my God, there's so much learning here.
Yes, indeed.
We're just excited to be on this journey with you guys.
Absolutely.
And we will be back next Wednesday.
Back next Wednesday.
Thanks a lot.
Okay.